Monoblocks for bi-wiring? This question comes to us from Aaron in Gat. I don't know where Gat is, but Aaron probably does. Aaron writes, "Hi, Paul. Thanks a lot for your videos." You're certainly welcome, my friend. Now for my question. Which way do you think is best to power a speaker? Using a monoblock for the left and one for the right, or splitting them with bi-wiring? Using one monoblock to power both low end left and right, and the other monoblock to power the top end left and right. Hope that I explained myself right, and thank you again from Malta. Oh, Gat's in Malta. Thanks. I'm not the sharpest tool on the belt at all times. I think there's a language issue here because I don't think we're saying the right words. I don't think we're talking about monoblocks. And let's assume that what Aaron is actually asking is involving stereo amps, and the real subject here is horizontal versus vertical bi-wiring. So let me explain that. There are two basic ways to, or I said bi-wiring, biamping. There are two basic ways to biamplify something. Of course, we're using bi-wires, but that's okay. I was wrong. In a biamp situation, you can do vertical or horizontal. So vertical biamping is where we take a stereo amplifier and we mentally flip it on its side, not really, but we use the left channel for the top end of one speaker and the right channel for the bottom end of that same speaker. Then we go do the same thing with another stereo amplifier. Now we've used two stereo amplifiers, and one entire amplifier works for the top, and then the other channel works for the bottom. The second way to do it is called horizontal biamping, and horizontal biamping basically is where you take one stereo amplifier and you put one channel on the base of one speaker and the other channel on the base of the other speaker. Then you take a second stereo amplifier and one channel on the top, one channel on the bottom. So the problem with doing vertical is that you got to have an amplifier that is very good on the top end and the bottom end. So it does help to separate it because, for instance, if you were, if you had an amplifier who was kind of a weenie and you used it to power only the bass, then you might not get the benefits of the top end, okay? And so you don't want to, I'm not putting this very well. The problems with vertical, I think I'm getting a little lost. I apologize. It's late, I'm sorry. Vertical biamping depends on having one channel that is dedicated to the top and one to the bottom, and you'd better hope that each is good at its specific task. And some amps are. Some amps are great at bass, and some amps are also great at the top end. But most amps have their strengths and weaknesses. So I've always been more a fan of horizontal biamping because you can then use different amps for different purposes. And further, you can take the load off of the one amp. So if you have an amplifier that's producing both bass and top end, one can affect the other. By horizontally biamping with stereo amps, you have an amplifier that you've chosen that is best for bass on the woofers, or at least its power supply and all its amplification stage, even if you use an identical one, is dedicated just to woofing. Then the other one on top is just relaxed and doing its deal on the treble. And some people, of course, use an amplifier that is very sweet on the top end, but not so great bass, and the opposite on the bottom end, a real woofing monster, but it also doesn't have much on the way of top end. The problem that you have if you use disparate amplifiers In other words, if you use company A's amplifier for the top end and company B's amplifier for the bottom end, you may not have the same gain. So you do want to make sure that each amplifier has the same gain, or you adjust the input to those amps to match the gains, and then you're fine. Most people will use 2 stereo amplifiers from the same manufacturer, and the advantages there, as I said, in a horizontal biamp situation, is to take the woofer amp is only running the woofers, and so if it affects the tweeters, we don't care, and the tweeter amp's only doing its job up there. So you're just separating the duties of the amplifiers, and it'll sound better. So I hope that answered your question. Sorry it was a little convoluted. It's late in the day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Get some rest in the meantime. Okay.